As I was listening to this SASCHA Raleigh audio, I learned that his adopted dad was a pilot. And I'm starting to realize the pilots and the planes are all coming together in this situation.
He was really nervous about taking on anything else. That's what he did. He shuttled the people, but I can remember him not wanting to cross the bridge over to running drugs.
Yeah.
Because in his mind, if he got caught with some people, he could just play dumb. And I was just transporting this guy's kid to, from the, here to there. I didn't know.
So what he's saying right here is his dad, adopted dad, because, he adopted some kids. His adopted mother and father adopted him and some other kids specifically in order to rent them out to people on these islands and or these farms that he would fly people out to. The significance of the plane and the significance of what he was saying, a lot of times a pilot would be hired to do a drug run, to transport narcotics to different places. His dad was hired to do people runs in order to take people, whether it's the victims or whether it's the customers, to islands or to these, places that have a whole lot of land. So there are certain places that people own the entire island, entire, whatever. So you can't just drive to the place because there's no way to get there. So you have to get there via plane. And of course, Candace Owens have been talking about planes over and over again. And now I'm starting to put it all together. What if every time Charlie Kirk had a debate at a college and it was thousands of students, at each time 1, 2, maybe 5 students mysteriously go missing, end up on the plane going to one of these places SASCHA Raleigh went to? See, with everything I'm learning, the planes are an integral part of all of this. Because do you remember the movie Blink Twice? The only way you can get to one of these islands, because it's not just Epstein Island, there's islands all over the world and they're owned by billionaires and there's no police, no cameras, no nothing. So in the movie Blink Twice, just as an example, after they had the events, I think in the movie they were selling art or it was some type of get together or whatever. The guys would go around flirting with the young women.
We're going to my island for a few days. Do you guys want to come?
This is crazy.
And they would do what? Offer the women to fly on their private jet to their personal island. You ladies want to come on my private jet and go to my private island? And if it's some young college students, they're like, hell yeah, I want to go to a private island. And next thing you know, is a plane 15, 20 minutes away, and boom, they're now somebody's slave. Now, I don't have proof of this. I'm just pontificating because as I was listening to the SASCHA Raleigh audios, the first thing I thought was the planes, the islands. They need the plane. They need the pilot to take everybody to the island. The planes. And remember, these were military planes. And what did I say about the military? That is the protection. See, a military plane can go in different airspaces with no problem versus just a private jet, because military planes and private jets are marked differently. There's certain things that military planes can do and go versus a private jet. So put a 1 in the chat if y'all remember when Candace Owens was saying, according to her knowledge and what she did her research on, virtually every time Charlie Kirk had one of these events where he was, going back and forth with the students, in every city he went to, there was a military plane not too far from the event. These planes, and I could be wrong, okay? This is just me just theorizing. See, we thought the planes were spying on Charlie Kirk. There's a possibility that every time Charlie Kirk did an event and brought out 2,000-3,000 students, it put whomever in a position where a student or 2 or 3 can go missing. And the plane was literally to transport the students to island. So just listening to this put it all together for me.
Where are you off to?
We're going to go to the island for a few days. When we were starting to think about having a good time.
Hello there. Hello there.
The film.
Transport the victims most
Yes.
often.
Oh, absolutely.
So more victims than guests. I don't want to call them
I would
guests.
say more guests than victims,
Okay.
but he definitely transported both.
Okay. It wasn't transporting Epstein so much as Epstein's victims and Epstein's guests.
And the clients.
Okay,
Yes.
the clients.
I focus on the why and not the who and what. I'm starting to easily think that Gregory is still alive. I'm calling him Gregory because YouTube will try to take my video down if I turn around and say this person is still alive and he didn't. Okay, so I'm using the word Gregory on purpose for YouTube. All right, and the reason why he faked his death, all of this is starting to happen. All of this is starting to come out. The Epstein files, all of this is starting to come out. And in my opinion, Charlie Kirk was going to get the same treatment when it came to a lot of lawsuits that Diddy dealt with. The reason why Diddy is in prison was because of lawsuits, Cassie's lawsuit and Lil Rod's lawsuit. And all of this stuff happened under Charlie Kirk's watch because he was CEO of Turning Point USA. So whether he knew about some stuff or he didn't, it happened on his watch. Because one thing we have to stop doing is asking, well, did Charlie Kirk know about all this? Well, where was Charlie Kirk? It doesn't really matter because he was the CEO of Turning Point USA. And if Turning Point USA members and the staff and the executives was allegedly doing all these things and they're connected to 30 different scenarios and they all have something to do with Tadpole traffic lights, it doesn't matter if he knows about it. You're the CEO and all of your employees are doing all this weird shit. I'm sick of trying to figure out whether he knew or not. It doesn't matter. So that's the first thing. So because it doesn't matter, whether he knew it or not, doesn't matter. He was the CEO of Turning Point USA. There was about to be a lawsuit, a huge lawsuit, monumental lawsuit coming down to literally ruin everything that Charlie Kirk built. Because Charlie Kirk is no longer here, that lawsuit never happened. This SASCHA Raleigh situation has literally opened my mind up and showed me exactly why Gregory faked his death. And he's still alive.
Fort Huachuca is one of the most important military bases in the United States. I know you can't see it clearly on this map, but this is Fort Huachuca, and it sits on the southeastern tip of Arizona, and it borders Mexico.
Right there. That's the second part of this. The first thing is the ritualistic activities going on revolving around all of this. The second thing is Fort Huachuca. What is the significance of Fort Huachuca? It's not just because it's a military base, because everybody in this situation is in the military. It's about the fact of where it sits. It's one in Arizona, and two, it sits on the border of Mexico. And we all know the border mixed with the military puts whoever is running things at Fort Huachuca in a position where they can do whatever they want to do to whoever they want to do it to and easily get away with it. So the border, for two different reasons, to be able to get away with things, and two, migrants.
I state without reservation that the United States federal government is the world's largest
Tadpole traffic lighting agency
in modern history. The probability that thousands of these UACs are being at this very moment is 100%. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the evil of child trafficking caused by the open border policies under President Joe Biden and his administration. I served in the United States Border Patrol for 24 years until I retired as a deputy patrol agent in charge in San Diego sector. Border Patrol agents went from working to being supported by the greatest border president in American history to the worst.
Today, Fort Huachuca is basically the brain center for military intelligence, cybersecurity, electronic warfare, and surveillance training. This is where Army intelligence officers are trained. If it involves signals, data, drones, or information warfare, it most likely passes through Fort Huachuca.
And everything you hear about Turning Point USA is about data farming, geofencing. Everything that happens with Turning Point USA, it always ends up with children, and now we're starting to add rituals to all of that.
In effect, a God yourself responsible for your own decisions concerning matters of good or evil or morality.
And what he's referring to, what they follow, is the Egyptian Book of the Dead. They've kept this, okay? This is what they follow. Spells, rituals. This is what they follow. Spells, rituals.
So the spells and rituals, some of y'all may say, whatever, but we don't have to believe in it for them to be wanting to do it. But say you make $80 million. You have $80 million. You can buy a boat. You can buy a plane. You can buy whatever the hell you want to buy. There's nothing on the planet that you can't buy. And you start going to events where other rich people go to. And you start to realize that because you are a part of this organization or this group, or because you're rich, you're now able to fly to other islands where there are no rules, no police, and no cameras, and you can do whatever the hell you want to do, no matter how illegal and crazy it is. If you believe it or you want to do it, they'll facilitate it for you. And that's kind of like what happened when you can have any woman you want, any this you want, any that you want, and you got all the money in the world. So they go to these islands and pay these secret pilots, take whomever to the island. But in order to get the wish, in order to go to the island and get or do whatever it is that you want to be able to do, you have to do these rituals. Because when you got all the money, all the options in the world, the next option is, in your mind or in their minds, is to find a way to live longer than you are living. And we already know about adrenochrome that comes from the movie Monsters, Inc. And they start making you believe that, hey, scared kids can and put you in a position where you can stop aging. You would want to continue to live and not have to worry about dying. That's the main thing you would want if you had all the money in the world, all the women in the world, all of this in the world. So when you think about why would these people do these heinous things, well, it's partly in order to be able to keep living past whatever age you are. And whether it's true or not, this is the reason why they have this need or want to harm tadpoles. I'm trying to give y'all the understanding of why these people are doing the things that they're doing. Too much of us are like, this isn't true. You have all this disbelief because you wouldn't do these things. But once you realize that they are not you and you are not them, you then can actually open your eyes and say, oh shit, this is real. So the first thing we have to do is get you to believe that there are men and women who do these things with the thought process of, I want to do them. I'm not made to do this. I want to do it. And the reason why I want to do it is because I want an afterlife, an elongated life. Watch this.
And they do believe in the self. They believe that they can make themselves gods by violating nature. So part of their ritual is to harm the innocent,
When I was editing the SASCHA Riley video, and his multiple videos, I'm gonna tell you one thing that made me just start crying. In the SASCHA Riley tapes, it was him and two girls, and things were going really bad. And him being a boy, SASCHA Riley was a boy. He was able to endure all of this because his dad was like this big, tough guy that believed in the tougher you are, the better you are. So SASCHA had the mindset of, I'm not going to let y'all break me. So if y'all break my ribs, you're not going to break my mind. I don't care. So no matter what they did to SASCHA Riley, he's just like, and it kind of like fueled him because we're males, right? But the two females that were with him were actually being treated worse. And why was the females treated worse, you may ask? According to SASCHA Riley, they literally told him that you're good. We're not going to do these things to you because girls are a dime a dozen. It's not easy to find boys. I don't even know what that means because there's males and females everywhere. But that's what they explained to him because the things that they were doing to them were way worse than the things they were doing to him. So going back to what literally made me cry is that one of the girls was just like, I'm done. I can't do this no more. So I need you to get me out of here. And for YouTube purposes, because I don't want this video to get flagged, that's all I'm going to say about get me out of here. And guess what? He was like, no, I'm not doing that. And she turns around and says, I want to get out of here with the two people that I love. I don't want to get out of here over there with them or out there with them. Because I guess, they're over here until they come back, right? So it's a time where they're by themselves and they're just like, right? And she's like, yo, get me out of here. He's like, why would I do that? because I want to go with my friends. It's kind of like if it's a plane crash and next thing you know, you survive the plane crash, but now you fall into an ocean full of sharks. You'll be like, yo, I would rather die in a plane crash instead of being in this ocean full of sharks, right? So now you just in the ocean like, oh shit. I feel better, if I died in a plane crash, right? So certain ways to go are easier to deal with versus other ways to go. So she's like, yo, I would rather go this way than out there with them. And he did it. He did it. And I was like, oh my God. And then the adults turned around and said, you're worse than us because you did A, B, and C. We're just, but you did more heinous things than we did. And he's like, and he's a kid. He's like 12. And they're now guilt tripping him and saying, we didn't do that. We didn't unallow nobody, but you did. So you're worse than we are. And I'm like, yo, the psychological side of this, you're literally, yeah, SASCHA Riley is a male. SASCHA Riley is a male. And he was with 2 females in this situation. So just imagine somebody you care about being like, yo, get me up out of here. I can't do this. I would rather do this here than right? And you just like, I don't want to do this, but I got to respect your wishes. And then you do it and you got that guilt of doing it, right? And all of a sudden they like, ha, you're a terrible person. You thought we were terrible. Look what you just did. I was like, yo. Everybody take a second, hit the thumbs up button. Everybody take a second, hit the thumbs up button. And if you see the hype button, make sure to hype this video if you see it. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't.
What's going on with Harvest Church and Greg Laurie? Here's an article which tells us that Greg Laurie, there's been a number of lawsuits filed against Harvest Christian Fellowship, the founder, Greg Laurie, and also the churches related to alleged abuse of young men.
Every single time. But the main thing that we're starting to understand is all of this is ritualistic. All of this, or a lot of this, has something to do with devil worship. And who does the devil actually want? Your kids.
At a children's home in Romania. Okay, there's 12 lawsuits, actually. The original.
Romania again. Let me back up. Romania all over again. They wouldn't be able to get away with none of this stuff if it wasn't for the military.
And so he's offering back that, oh, well, that's a pastor that we were funding. It's not the entire church. It's not fair to come after the whole church for what Paul Havsgaard is being alleged to have done. I'm saying this is just too many times for me. I don't know about you guys. I'm getting Romanian trafficking fatigue. Okay. I'm getting Ukrainian, Romanian trafficking fatigue.
This is it. Military, pastor, children, military, pastor, children, military, pastor, children, Romania, Ukraine. This is literally the entire narrative of Turning Point USA for decades. That means way before Charlie Kirk died, this was the narrative of Turning Point USA. I'm not going to just keep sitting here acting like Charlie Kirk did not know none of this stuff, and it was going on for freaking decades. Military, pastors, kids. Hell no, I'm not doing it.
Everybody hit the like button. Everybody hit the like button. Everybody hit the like button.
It just can't be that all of these military people that are adjacent to the military, go out there in a place where they're perfectly safe. Actually, they're quite immune to prosecution because that's the deal that gets
in Romania.
Is like you can do whatever you want on your base. And I'm going, what the heck is going on here? So I reached out to some people that I know, and I say, what is this strand? I don't know much about the military. Why does this keep happening? And what they told me, and this is also proven currently right now, a bunch of South Korean women have filed a unprecedented lawsuit against the United States military for the same thing, for running a brothel where they are stationed in South Korea. South Korea.
What does South Korea have to do with any of this? Well, right after Charlie Kirk passed away, the strangest thing was happening. Rob McCoy, which is a pastor, started bragging about going to South Korea right after Charlie Kirk went to South Korea. And when he got back, he got deleted. And we all wanted to know, in the Scooby-Doo mystery team, why was he going to South Korea so much? So this is Rob McCoy talking about going to South Korea.
Heading out after this for Phoenix and then on to Korea on Tuesday. They are trying to start a kind of a turning point, young conservatives in Korea movement. And so they're
Turning Point Tadpoles movement. In other words, shout out to the Turning Point Tadpoles.
They invited me to come, which is going to ruin the entire thing.
Korea needs freedom, and the church is the soul of this nation. It's time to stand for truth regardless of the consequences.
한국은 이 자유가 필요합니다. 그리고 교회는 국가의 양심입니다. 그 대한민국을 지키기 위해서 기독교인들이 일어서야 합니다.
And something I want y'all to understand is before Rob McCoy went to Korea, South Korea in particular, Charlie Kirk was out there. So we can't just sit around thinking that Charlie Kirk knew nothing. Why was he out in South Korea before Rob McCoy was out there?
A bunch of South Korean women have filed a unprecedented lawsuit against the United States military for the same thing, for running a brothel where they are stationed in South Korea.
An unprecedented lawsuit, class action lawsuit from Korean women. Who are they suing?
A bunch of South Korean women have filed a unprecedented lawsuit against the United States military for the same thing, for running a brothel where they are stationed in South Korea.
The military. Back to when I said I worked for the Department of Defense. The stories that I would hear from different males in the military, they would tell me, and I'm not saying this is all people in the military, but they would go to Kyrgyzstan. They would go here. They would go to different places. Not Kyrgyzstan. That's not the army. That is the Air Force. The Air Force went to Kyrgyzstan. Seoul, Korea, I think that was Navy. They would visit brothels. So many of them told me, "Oh yeah, you get all kinds of tail here, there. It's like a mall. You know how you go out on a trip, right? And no matter where you are, it's time to hit the mall, right? Well, with some military men, their mall is the brothels. So they just like, time to go to the mall and pick up 3 chicks."
So what they are telling me adds up. It's tracking. What they say is, okay, think of a military base. Anywhere in the world, you have a bunch of men who do not have regular access to women. Anyway, they tell me that they will typically send someone out who will be a woman. So think of like a Ghislaine Maxwell to go out and to find them, their interests, their taste.
Remember, there's always a woman. So for anybody who just wants to run around demonizing men, some of the demons are women also, because I said before that women are needed in order to make everything run properly. Because if you go in a mall and some random man walks up to you and says, "Hey, you want to come back over here and do this?" You're going to be like, "No." But some woman, some pretty woman who's like, "Hey, I'm a model. And if you want to be a model like me, you can come back over here with me and I'll teach you how to be a model." And they're going to be like, "Yes, girl." And next thing you know, boom. Now you're behind bars looking stupid. So I'm just letting y'all know, women are the main conduits to tadpole traffic lights. Men too. Men are actually doing the terrible things, but women are the conduits to the terrible things. I just need y'all to understand that, because y'all be like, "Oh, you hate women." No, I'm just including women in this shit because they are included. We can't just act like they aren't. What if every time Charlie Kirk had a debate at a college and it was thousands of students at each time, 1, 2, maybe 5 students mysteriously go missing, end up on a plane going to one of these places SASCHA Riley went to? See, with everything I'm learning, the planes are an integral part of all of this. Because do you remember the movie Blink Twice? The only way you can get to one of these islands, because it's not just Epstein Island, there's islands all over the world, and they're owned by billionaires. And there's no police, no cameras, no nothing. So in the movie Blink Twice, just as an example, after they had the events, the guys would go around flirting with the young women.
We're going to my island for a few days. Do you guys want to come?
This is crazy.
And they would do what? Offer the women to fly on their private jet to their personal island. "You ladies want to come on my private jet and go to my private island?" And if it's some young college students, they're like, "Hell yeah, I want to go to a private island." And next thing you know, is a plane 15, 20 minutes away, and boom, they're now somebody's slave. Now, I don't have proof of this. I'm just pontificating, because as I was listening to the SASCHA Riley audios, the first thing I thought was the planes, the islands, They need the plane, they need the pilot to take everybody to the island. The planes. And remember, these were military planes. And what did I say about the military? That is the protection. See, a military plane can go in different airspaces with no problem versus just a private jet, because military planes and private jets are marked differently. There's certain things that military planes can do and go versus a private jet.